For this video we're looking at creating some watercolour techniques. You're going to look at creating 8 different techniques. So firstly, before you start, you need to divide your piece of paper into 8 sections. So I'm just going to start off with doing a horizontal line and then split into more or less 8 equal shapes. I don't need to be perfect. I'm going to start off, first technique we're going to do is called a flat wash. To do the flat wash, you're going to make sure you have clean water. You're going to add water to your watercolour paint colour that you want to use. For this one I'm going to use blue. I'm going to make sure my paint is saturated with water before I start. I'm going to then use my mixing palette. I'm going to put my paint into my palette. Then I'm going to add water to water down the paint, creating a wash. You can scrape off excess on the side of your palette and you just paint gently into your section. Your next is a wet on wet technique. So you need to have a clean brush for this. So wash the brush in your water. Then with your clean water, you're going to make your paper wet to start with. Then you're going to take your colour that you want to use from your palette and gently apply that on top of the wet paper. You'll see it gathers and it moves around a bit because there's obviously water on the page already. Wash your brush. Next one is a gradient, but that's also wet on wet. So a gradient is changing from dark to light. So again, using water, add your water to your page. And now this time you're going to load your brush up, but you're only going to put a small amount at the top. You're going to use a dipping technique. So dip it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Scrape off any excess water. Then paint the next bit. And you dip again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you're gradually taking off more of the paint and you're having more water. Dip again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And again. And what you should get is a gradual change in gradients. This going dark all the way down to light. Wash your brush again. This one is a colour blend. So it's like the gradient, but you're going to blend 2 colours together. So you're going to again start with using water to make sure your page is wet. I'm going to blend yellow into blue. So I'm going to start with the yellow because it's the lighter colour. Load my brush up with yellow and paint yellow at the top. Wash my brush. I'm going to then load my brush up with blue, paint at the bottom. Now this time I'm going to just use water to bring the yellow down a bit further and the blue into the middle a bit further. And you should start to get a colour blend. If it's not a clear enough colour, you can always add a bit more of your other colours, but be gentle not to over paint on the paper too much because it will start to peel away. So you only can go over it a couple of times at the most. And where the 2 primary colours mix, you'll start to get a secondary colour appear. If you need to take anything off, so if you see where you want to there, if you squeeze out the water of your brush, you can use your brush to lift some of the excess paint and water. Next is dry on dry. So this, you do need a dry brush. You don't want it perfectly dry, but you can squeeze out the excess water I'm going to use a paint I've already used, so it's not totally dry because I need to have some paint go on the brush. But this time, if you do dry on dry, you should end up with a few brush marks, and you should be able to hear the scratching of the dry paint on the dry paper. Next is to create a hard edge. So this one, just use the tip of your brush, load it up with paint. You can draw some controlled straight lines, you can see you get a hard edge. You can create wiggly lines. And the next one you're going to do is a soft edge. So I'm going to do the same shape so you can see the difference. Wash your brush. Paint your page with water. Load your brush up again. And you'll create soft edges because the paint will bleed into the water already on your page. So you have slightly less control, get much looser marks, a bit more organic. Last technique is called glazing. So you'll need two colours for this one. I'm going to start with yellow. So wash my brush, load it up with yellow. If you notice you start to lose the colour in your paint as well, it might be you need fresh water. If your water gets dirty, it doesn't work so well. So I'm going to paint on yellow to start with. I'm going to wash my brush. Then I'm going to use red. Load it up. And I'm going to just run a stripe of red over the top. And where those colours meet, that's what we call a colour glaze. And you can do that while it's wet, or you can do it while it's dry as well. It works both ways. So there you have 8 watercolour techniques that you're going to then apply to a beetle drawing. And I'll show you one so you can see what you're going to be doing.